The Colonel making an appearance here on the Sports Bash, a guy I've known for a very long time and always has a take on everything sports-related, in my opinion. Mike Kern, welcome to the show. How are you, pal?
Can I get those crab legs for the midget price of $15.99? Does that work, too?
Yes, Michael. It's a height limit, and you're in, right? So you could say you could say.
If it makes you feel any better, I was just listening to one of my colleagues who has a radio show up here in Philly, and was reading something I wrote and disagreeing with it mightily, because I basically wrote that, the loss stinks, talking about Villanova, but they did win the title last year. So I guess, not everybody agrees with that premise. I guess you should win the title every year or get to the Final Four every year, even though Duke and Carolina and Kansas don't do that either. But, look, I understand they're college kids, they're 21-year-olds. Did the season end badly? Yes. But you know what? I think when they get to talk to their reunions 10 years from now, they're not going to talk about Wisconsin. They're probably going to talk about Carolina. And, now if they hadn't won the title last year, and as I also wrote in the story, which I hope my esteemed colleague gets to, next year Jay Wright's going to have to answer the same questions he thought he'd never have to answer again, which was, can you get past the second round? So we'll see. But, yeah, Saturday in Buffalo stunk. Buffalo stinks in general, I'll tell you. You spend a week in Buffalo, you spend a month in Buffalo. So that's just the way that goes.
I had a friend of mine that works in television. We're visiting with Mike Kern from the Philadelphia Daily News. Read his work on phillynews.com. And, Colonel, I had a friend of mine who works in television in Wisconsin. So, of course, he's there to cover the Wisconsin first and second round games, and Wisconsin ends up knocking Villanova out. But as he's, getting ready to do a live shot, and, of course, you have to be outside the arena to do the TV live shots, somebody comes behind him and says something about the Packers suck or something. And because they see Wisconsin's leader or something on his jacket, right? And he says, well, I'm actually a Tennessee Titans fan. And the guy says, that was an illegal forward pass, and then walks on.
Well, there is that. I mean, look, memories die hard. This is what I think. We've always had this discussion in Philadelphia. Would you take a title for 5 or 10 years of mediocrity after that? Right? That's always the thing, because the Eagles haven't won since 60, the Sixers since 83, and on and on and on it flies. And, you get varying opinions and whatever. Me, I think I take the title over 6 or 7 years of being good and not winning it. Think about what you would have remembered about the Phillies of the late 70s and early 80s if they had not won in 1980. You would have thought they were failures. If the Phillies had not won in 2008, even though they had a great 5-year run, you would have thought they were failures. Am I wrong or right?
I think you're right.
Villanova failed on Saturday, and 2 years ago came up short, and the year before that, when maybe they, yes, but they won the flipping national title last year. And no, that doesn't last forever. The statute of limitations doesn't mean that they can keep losing in the second round forever, but it wasn't like the other 3 years were bad. The NCAA tournament was bad, which is what people judge you on. And I understand that. They don't judge themselves like that, whether that's right or wrong. They won 129 games, these kids who are leaving. And they're going to be good next year. In all probability, in fact, it won't be the overall number one, but, they'll be whatever. So who would have thought back in November that having lost Arch and Daniel and having two kids that would have been starters on this team not play the whole year, one because of injury, one because of an eligibility thing, that they would have went 32-3 and been the top seed in the tournament and lost one less game than the team that won last year wound up losing. I mean, does it justify what happened Saturday? Absolutely not. You're up 7 with 5.5 minutes to go, and you don't get it done. I don't know what would have happened after this, and then Duke goes down later. Which then totally opens up the bracket for you. Yeah, it stinks. But did I think they were going to win the national title? No, probably not, just because nobody does. I don't think a team, if my recollection is correct, in the last decade, since Florida was the last team to repeat and only the second team since UCLA, I only think 2 defending champs, or maybe it's one, have even gotten back to the Final 8. And we're talking about teams like Kansas, Kentucky. Well, not Kansas. Yeah, Kansas, Kentucky, Duke. So we're talking about some blue bloods who weren't even able to do it. So does it leave a bad taste in your mouth when you're walking? Yes. And for this group, because most of the kids in this group did win the title, so I don't really, because they really didn't have a freshman playing, because Dante was a second-year freshman. So, I can't go all the way off the edge of the cliff. I just can't. But, and you're dealing with 21-year-old kids, too, which I think we lose sight. It's not like I'm dealing with 30-year-old professional athletes. So there is that.
You're listening to the golden tones of Mike Kern from the Philadelphia Daily News. You can find him on Twitter at Mike Kern DN and read his story today about another early NCAA loss. Can't erase that meaning of Villanova's title. So, Mike, Villanova goes out earlier than they want to, but to the rest of the City Six teams, they probably look with envy and say, well, at least they were there. Why don't you give me, in your best Colonel fashion, the update on my alma mater, Temple, or some folks, St. Joe, or LaSalle, or where the state of the other six programs are?
Well, I had one guy email me right after the game, Villanova guy, and he said, we're a national joke. Dude, you're not a national joke. Okay, but that's whatever. Another guy said, but you get that. That's fine. And in the heat of the moment, I understand. The gap between Villanova and the rest of the teams has never been greater. They've won, I think, 18 straight Big Five games, all by double digits, by the way. I don't know. Look, Dunphy played this year without Trey Lowe, who may never play again because of that auto accident, who probably would have been his leading scorer, and his point guard. Now, I'm not saying, Villanova was playing without two guys. Okay. But would Temple have been better? I think so. And then when they beat those two ranked teams in November, I think it got us all excited to what they could be, and they were a 500 team. So next year, if they don't make the tournament next year, and I don't think they'll be projected to make the tournament going into the season, and that doesn't mean anything. That's just projections. That will be 4 or 5 years that they didn't make the tournament. And the 1 year that they did, they would have lost in the first round to Iowa. So that's not good. But, are they going to close the gap with Villanova? Not appreciably anyway, not next year. St. Joe wasn't supposed to be good this year. Then they were playing better than we thought. And then they lost their two best players to injuries. And then it all went downhill. LaSalle was, I think, they would tell you, was supposed to be better than they were. They were at one point. They're like 11-5, and then they got crushed at VCU, and then Pookie Powell got hurt, missed like 6 games. They were never the same team. I think Penn made improvements. They got 3 really good players coming in next year, so they're on the upswing. Temple's got some good players coming in, allegedly. I don't really pay much attention to recruiting. My belief is when they get here, then I'll see what they are. St. Joe's, I think, has a good kid coming in. Hopefully Newkirk will be back from his injury. Villanova has a couple good kids coming in. I mean, they lose Josh Hart, Jenkins, who struggled at the end, and Reynolds. So, and Drexel, look, they had a first-year coach who I think did a really good job just in winning 9 or 10 games or whatever they won, and they're going to get better in time. It takes a while. So next year, I mean, I probably would tell you Villanova's probably going to win all 4 Big Five games, and probably by, a fair amount. Now, that doesn't mean they can't lose. Certainly they could lose, and but they're just so much better than the rest of the Big Five right now, and most of the rest of the country. It's not just that they're better than the Big Five. They're better than the Big East. They're better than, but when you lose in the second round to 8 seeds, people will question your legitimacy. There's just no way around that. And if they had not won the national title last year, if they had gotten to the final 8 and lost to Kansas, the fallout from Saturday, I think, would have been a lot more.
No one will question Mike Kern's ability to break down the City Six teams and to talk about March Madness. And, of course, he also covers college football and golf, too. Masters right around the corner. But, Mike and Colonel, I'll give you a little potpourri here. You can do it either or. I had 2 topics lined up, and this will probably be one of our last 2 questions. But you can either discuss the whole Wichita State's wife, Lynn Marshall, and that video, and the NCAA maybe telling them to take it down, and then they say they didn't tell them to take it down. That's a hot button issue on this Monday. Or the fact that people are out there complaining because the NCAA's political stance gave Duke essentially a road game versus South Carolina, or you can put them all together and mix them into one answer. Go ahead, buddy.
I don't want to get into the wife thing. It's the world we live in is a little nuts sometimes. Okay, I'll just say that. Now, I'm not a big social media guy, so people who know me know that I'm a dinosaur, and I just think people really get carried away with minutia anymore to get clicks, do this, do that, whatever. I don't know. The fact that Duke had to play essentially a road game, boy, that's tough. I mean, Duke's played how many games in Charlotte in their life? And look, if I was Duke playing South Carolina there and South Carolina said, yeah, is it not right? No. I mean, they said Villanova couldn't play as a 2 last year in the East. And essentially they were telling you they didn't want to penalize Carolina, but they wouldn't come out and say that. But I bet you if you go to a map and look geographically, that where they play the game, Greenville, is not much closer to Columbia than it is to Raleigh-Durham. Okay? I mean, I've driven through the Carolinas enough to know. And do you not think that there was Duke people there? I mean, the Duke people won't travel 2 hours or 2.5 hours or whatever it is. It's not like they played the game in Columbia. And by the way, you did give up 65 points in the second half. Hey, look, you know what? Every year in the NCAA, somebody's got a beef. Villanova can sit there and tell you, I mean, look at the job they did seeding the Big Ten teams. Are you kidding me? So they made Minnesota a 5, okay? Maryland a 6. Even Dick Girardi, who went to Maryland, didn't think they should have been a 6. But yet you have Michigan, who won the tournament, okay, as a 7. They're still playing. You had Wisconsin, which finished second in the regular season and lost in the title game as an 8. So tell me how that makes sense. Now, that's a mitigating factor. That doesn't say, okay, it's okay for Villanova to lose that game. But all I'm trying to say is they did not get a good draw. Last year, Villanova, as a 2, got sent to play Kansas in Louisville. Okay? That wasn't what I would call, but they beat them. So it becomes a moot point. So I mean, did Duke get the short end of the stick? Maybe. But, I mean, it's the way it goes sometimes. I mean, they had a graphic last night that Duke has lost 5 times since 2007 to a team that was seeded 5 spots or more lower than it. And the only other team that's done that since the tournament expanded in 85 was Villanova. Now they had Jay Wright up there. I don't think Jay Wright's done it 5 times. I think Jay's done it 4 times, so maybe they're wrong. But all I'm saying is there's Duke, who's a number, was the team that everybody was picking and all this, and they lost. And they've lost several times. North Carolina hasn't won a title since 2009. Kansas hasn't won one since 2008. So it's not like these blue blood teams are like winning titles. Bill Self has lost in the second and third round of this tournament a lot. But when it I don't think Villanova is Duke or Kansas or North Carolina or those teams. They're just not. But the way they played the few years, and the records they've accumulated has put them in there. And oh, by the way, if you're going to say that Jay Wright can't coach in the tournament, that's fine. But from 2005 to 2009, why did he make the Sweet 16 4 times? Once as a 12 seed, okay, and went to a Final 8 and a Final 4. So it's the same guy, right? So I don't know. Maybe they put too much pressure on themselves. Maybe I don't know. I don't have an answer. But all I know is when you sandwich a title in between it, it changes the way I look at it. But maybe that's me.
The one, the only Mike Kern. Make sure you check out his article, Villanova's Ring Makes Up for Early Exits. You can find that on Philly.com, or you can find him in the hard copy of the Daily News like I do, and buy that newspaper. Keep guys like Mike Kern employed, baby.
Hey, all I know is I want that midget rate at that place.
I already you may not like social media, but I already tweeted Ari, the owner, and told him when you come down for the ShopRite LPGA Classic, we're going to hook you up. We're going to take care of you.
Okay, man.
Good stuff, Colonel. Take care, pal.
You too, brother.